All right, how's everyone doing? I'm Rich CELENZA. Thanks for checking out my channel. So what I want to get into today is regarding steroids, that it may not be the answer for you. And the one thing I get asked the most about, I'd say throughout my life, starting at about 12 years old on, was regarding steroids. And people asking me where they could get them, if I knew anything about them, and many different things. And I think that really started when I started to come to Florida at a young age. I used to hang out at two gyms. One was Orange Avenue Gym, which is, I think, classified as the oldest gym ever in the United States. It's closed down now. That's near downtown Orlando, Florida. And there was another gym called Body Masters, which was on Lake Underhill and Goldenrod, which is also a very well-known gym back in the day, especially the 80s. Both of these had monsters in them: powerlifters, bodybuilders, wrestlers, football players, collegiate, NFL, and I think it was the USFL was going on as well when I was going there, if I'm not mistaken, as well. And both of those gyms dealt with a lot of steroids. One of them, if I'm not mistaken, was a hub for Central Florida, or the state of Florida, from what I've heard, especially for the universities. A lot of people coming from Florida State, Miami, the Swamp, Gainesville, and buy a lot of steroids there. They had some great connections. But being around steroids for most of my life, and the truth was I never took steroids, and that was something that for some reason, and this includes my parents, my closest friends, family members, even colleagues, never seemed to believe. Instead of me always fighting them regarding steroids, I looked at it as a compliment. I did not give a shit. I would tell them I didn't take them. There'd still be all these rumors, because I think I mentioned this on so many videos. I went from like 135 pounds to all of a sudden 220 pounds as a young man. So everybody naturally thought that I was taking steroids, especially when I left out of high school, Chicago, and came to Florida. And then I didn't see people for like that year and a half, and I came back and most people didn't even recognize me. I remember even going to a basketball tournament. Our school is very well known for basketball, St. Joseph. They made the movie Hoop Dreams about them. And I went to a Proviso West tournament. I heard they were making the movie Hoop Dreams, and they wanted to introduce me to one of the guys in the film. It never happened that night, but I still went there. And most of the teachers and other students that I used to know, or whatever, from my class and younger class or upperclassmen, nobody really recognized me. And I was wearing my buddy's football jersey that he wore in high school, and they all thought I was like kind of wearing shoulder pads, which was quite ridiculous. But so what I want to get into regarding this video is, first off, I want you to know, if you want to try steroids or not, that's strictly up to you. I will never tell anybody what to do with their body. It's none of my business. I can only give you an insight on what I went through. The only thing I can give you an insight on this regarding is not taking them. So I've never taken them. I have in the past, though. When I was younger, I would take Gainer's Fuel out of Twin Lab. I took Genesis. Also, I think I got that out of a GNC. Sorry about that. And I also took stuff like Natural Sterile Complex, and I took some like Animal Packs. And that was in the late 80s, early 90s, and amino acids. I really didn't feel good, and I discussed this on my other videos. You may or may have not seen those. I don't feel good taking certain things. I love food. I did take a couple Flintstone vitamins, but even taking a vitamin throughout my life, I never really took them except, again, for Flintstones. I do love smoothies. I did, though, in the late 1990s, tried creatine in some of my smoothies. Now I guess once in a while I get whey protein in them. That would be the most that I've ever taken as far as supplements go. So I'm not going to say I'm anti-supplements, because I'm not. If they work for you, I think it's more of a placebo. I do think you can gain weight off them, obviously, because I think they're loaded with a lot of sugar and a lot of other things as well. Maybe good and bad. I also knew people that were in the industry, and I kind of see how they created it. And it just didn't impress me. Again, that's just my perception. But when it came to steroids, obviously I seen some very good friends, not good friends, many different people in many different sports, again, professional and amateur, get incredible results. The reality is, a lot of times you do get great results. And here, this is my perception too. If you're making something a living, right? If you want to become a professional bodybuilder, God bless you. Most likely you're going to have to get on steroids. If you want to do other sports that are kind of just, they're taking steroids. It could be a professional wrestler, and I'm talking kind of like, the entertainment kind of style, but those guys are badasses too. But a lot of them that I knew that started off, they weren't big enough, they just want to get bigger and stronger. A lot of them took steroids. They wanted to be monsters. They wanted to make that their career. Without probably doing that, most likely they would have never gotten to the level they've got to. And literally I worked out with a lot of professional wrestlers like that. Powerlifters, same type of thing. But my thing, what I think happened with me and how I avoided steroids, was I never had an interest anymore in competing. I never competed as a powerlifter, but I never was interested in doing that, and I never wanted to become a bodybuilder. I thought about doing a show, but literally it was for a week. But I have a big scar on my stomach, so it looks disfigured, so even if I went on stage with abs, my stomach, the more ripped I look, kind of the worse it looks. So I just kind of just said, I want to be a beast. I want to be a monster. But as I saw a lot of my friends kind of dabbling in steroids, I seen they would get good results, and then I would see them get deflated. Now, that may not be everyone, but for the most part, that's what I kept seeing. A lot of the results just didn't stay. Now, not everyone. Some guys that were 200, all of a sudden, you know, they're 240, 250, 260. And even when they were off the juice, they would lose some weight, but they gained a lot of size. But on the flip side of that, usually when they got off the juice, they just didn't look that healthy or that good to me. I also didn't like the acne. They used to talk about balding. I went bald, never took steroids. Again, people were saying, oh, Rich took steroids. That's why I was going bald at a young age. Truth was, that wasn't the case at all. I also really realized a lot of guys that I worked out with, they literally did have mood swings. People don't want to talk about this a lot of times, at least the ones I was around. But I think a lot of those guys were alpha males anyways. They had mood swings anyway, so I can't just say steroids made them moody. But I think a lot of their moods were based on how strong they were that day, what their results were, even if they weighed themselves, if they lost weight, gained weight, the way they looked that day. All these things come into play. So I can't just say steroids, but I know a lot of guys, because I had a lot of anger issues, so I already was at a high level of kind of craziness and wanting to fight a lot. Don't know why. Insecurity, most likely. But that was kind of a way to prove whoever the hell you are, is that you were tough in all these, this environment. But back to steroids again. If you are on the fence regarding steroids, the only thing I would say is, keep testing yourself and see how far you can go without them. If you're, again, going for a show or doing something that for, something else, that's on you. But I'm just saying, if you're the average Joe out there, and I think a lot of people want to get better results, they want to get quicker results, and this includes even my friends that were ridiculous, that would even try juice, they would try growth hormone, they would try many different things to get size, and the reality was, I knew most of them wouldn't even stick with working out for long periods of time. That was just my perception, and most of the time I was right. A lot of guys that I saw doing steroids or wanting to do them almost were the shortcut guys. They were like, oh, I just want to get bigger, and I just want to do it quicker. It was like, look at this as a long-term thing. You can gain maybe 5 pounds of muscles per year. Look at that in the long run, how much muscle that is. If you keep working out, you got to eat, obviously, and eating is the one thing I think also that people can't handle. And they talk a tough game that they want to get big and they want to get strong, they want to gain weight, but they can't handle eating. You have to learn to eat. And I think a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to eat that much, but I want to take steroids. That's going to give me the size. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But a lot of times, again, I've seen guys who took steroids, ate a ton, and became fat slobs. I've seen a ton of guys take steroids, try to still stay lean, really not get that much out of it. They got some strength, a little bit of size, but once they got off them, again, they're deflated. So these are all the things that I've seen through the years. And here's something, too, that I realized regarding a lot of guys that took steroids, especially in their youth, like, say, high school, college. A lot of them never got off it. Really, they kind of dabbled in and out of it for many, many years. And a lot of them ended up having some health issues. I'm not going to lie. It's not like what you see with professional bodybuilders, a lot of health issues they're having. But don't kid yourself, a lot of people do end up having some type of health issue if they've been on certain type of steroids for many, many years. And the one thing also regarding me, I was definitely afraid of needles. I was definitely afraid of pills. For a guy who teaches confidence and stuff, there's other things that I lack any confidence in whatsoever, and that is trusting people when it comes to those things. I even have friends running to Mexico, making a living selling steroids for a while. A lot of college kids were doing this in Florida, and they were selling juice in their gyms, but they'd go to Mexico and really get some authentic, supposedly good stuff, and then they would sell it. So for the most part, that may have been legit. I still didn't even trust what they were picking up in Mexico, because nothing against Mexico, what What are they picking up? Just because they're picking it up hypothetically at a pharmacy there, or a doctor was giving it to them, I don't know where the doctor or the pharmacy was getting it. So I never trusted putting anything inside my body like that. So if you're one of those people that you think, you got a good buddy or a friend and they can get you some shit, again, think about where that comes from. I just don't trust anyone. I've seen stuff that looked packaged, professionally. It wasn't legit. It just goes on and on and on. Just be very aware. Now, if you get sick or something in that nature, obviously in a hospital and they tell you to get on certain types of steroids, that's a whole different thing. Of course, that's going to be most likely legitimate and you're under doctor's care. And if you do, let's just hypothetically say you do want to get on steroids, regardless of what the hell I'm saying, hey, more power to you. Make sure you regulate your body consistently. I don't even know how they do this nowadays, so doctors, if you could get it through doctor's care, or you can, one way or another, make sure what you're doing is being done correctly, okay? The amount you're taking is done right. And if you watch a lot of YouTube videos, and I see them off and on about guys, now it's so open. It's so much more open, because when I was growing up in even the 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s, or even up until 2010, most people that took steroids pretended like they didn't. They wouldn't even talk about it. It was really, under the table. But now if you go on YouTube, most guys they're monsters. They're going to kind of go through it with you, talk about what they've done, what they did right, what they did wrong. Even Dorian Yates, one of my favorite bodybuilders of all times, he's even openly talked about this on many podcasts and videos, which I love, the truth aspect of this. And again, he has a different perception on steroids than, say, somebody else, right? Everybody has, I think, their own journey when it comes to doing anything fitness-driven, and then mixing chemicals, their diet, everything. It's across the board. No one has the same journey. I've discussed this before, because none of us live the same lifestyle. None of us eat the exact same food. None of us get the exact same sleeping pattern. None of us have the exact same job. So by taking anything, and also we don't have the same workouts. So by doing all these type of things, you have to realize everything is going to affect you differently than someone else. If you do have a friend that takes steroids and say he gets great results, that's great. Does not mean that you're going to get the same results. You have to understand that. Same on the flip side, you may get great results by taking steroids and your friends may not. I was getting great results by eating a lot and lifting a ton of weights, but also being around a ton of animals. What was pushing me actually was my insecurities I talked about. And like when I was in Florida, say, even when I moved here officially, I'm in the gym, Worlds, Golds, again, Orange Avenue, the other one closed down, but I was bouncing between a lot of gyms where a lot of big dudes were. So I wanted to compete. I want to get as big as them or bigger. And then I go to Chicago, and I'm not saying there's not a lot of big guys in Chicago, but basically back then they did not have the type of gyms we had, and the guys just weren't as, I guess you could say, crazy and as massive. And steroids just weren't as popular, at least in the areas that I was in Chicago. I'm not saying steroids wasn't there. That's ridiculous. But I'm just saying in Florida, and then I'd even go to California in my early 20s. Again, a lot of guys took steroids there. A lot of people lifted a lot of heavy weights. There were so many more bodybuilders. And they also had just a different lifestyle regarding fitness there. When you're in Florida or California and those type of places, you don't have the luxury to a certain degree to kind of go in and be a caveman for 6 months because of the weather. You have your shirt off. So if you want to be big, you got to be big year round. It's not like saying, okay, now it's winter, I can kind of shut down my body. In Florida and California, we're always open. We always worked out, nothing to prevent us from getting to the gym and all those type of things. So I'm going to probably do some more videos regarding this because I can't get it all out. But yeah, please pay attention. And again, if you want to get on steroids or you're thinking about taking anything, just make sure also you do your research hardcore. Don't listen to a lot of people that, I think a lot of people talk shit, and a lot of people that have taken them, that doesn't mean they took them correctly. And the bottom line at the end of the day is, what am I going to value by doing whatever I'm doing fitness-wise? That goes for, depending on your workouts. Am I hurting myself, helping myself? Am I taking steroids? Why am I taking them? I mean, you got to really dissect. That's what happened with me, was I kept saying, I'm getting good results. But at the end of the day, why would I take something that's going to me, damage my body? Now, it may or may not have. See, that's the thing I think people have to understand, that a lot of people took steroids for many years or for short amount of time, and they're fine now, and they probably will be for a long time. But on the other end, maybe some people may take something and it may trigger something, or your body just may not accept it. So just be very aware, and if you are taking them, pay attention to your body every day. Like I said earlier, please, you just want to make sure you're under doctor's care to really regulate your body and make sure you're getting the best results you can and the healthiest, if that makes sense. So I'm going to wrap it up there. Hopefully you got something out of this. I got a podcast, The Rich CELENZA Show. WTF are you talking about? I want to have someone on there who's actually a steroid expert. I don't know if they'll come on. I know a few of them. I may even have to block the screen, but I really want to get into that because that's one of the things people ask me the most, and I don't know anything really about it. I can only tell you what I know from the perspective of what I went through and people around me. And then I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. If you get a chance, subscribe. All right. And I have a program, Mastering Self-Confidence, out. I got to start talking more about that. But if you, if you find yourself maybe in a place where you need like just some information or advice regarding confidence, I definitely can help you with that, I think. So just if you want to check that out, it's masteringselfconfidence.com. And you can see all this on richcelenza.com, my website. So, all right, take care and stay safe.